Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jeff Goodman here with me, and we have lottery results to talk about. Jeff, this is a college basketball podcast, but I do feel like we spend more time watching these college basketball players than anybody that does NBA content, especially when you're in the heart of the playoffs.
You think?
Yeah, you think. So I think we have a level of insight into who these guys are coming out of college that a lot of people aren't going to get. It's one thing to watch film. It's another thing to understand the storylines and watch these guys play throughout the year. Yeah. So we're going to break some of this down. We're going to talk about Cooper. We're going to talk about Dylan Harper at number 2. We're going to talk about some of our favorite picks towards the end of the lottery. We're going to give you a little bit of a mock draft here for the lottery that has been selected. But I do want to start with this because I feel like last night, the NBA just kind of exploded, right? The storylines and the narratives and the directions for like a half dozen franchises completely had the scripts flipped, from Jason Tatum and the potential injury that he's going to be dealing with, to the Wizards falling to the 6th pick, to the Dallas Mavericks going from having a coin flip to be the 11th team in the lottery rankings to getting the number 1 pick after trading Luka Doncic for a bag of balls and a bucket of money, right? It just everything about the way, like what happened in the last 24 hours in the NBA is absolutely fascinating to me. What is I'm sure I know what your answer is going to be here, but I'll tee you up and I'll let you take the road. What is the biggest storyline that we've seen in the NBA coming out of the lottery night?
Well, all right. If you're saying coming out of the lottery, it's different than my answer, which was going to be the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. But coming out of the lottery, it's clearly the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison having an opportunity to redeem himself with the easiest number 1 selection we've seen in a long time, right? I mean, Cooper Flag, we knew it was the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. We did not think the Dallas Mavericks were going to be any sort of major player with Cooper Flag here. And obviously Nico makes the trade to make him the most hated man in Dallas, sending Luka for AD. And now you've got the potential to put a trio out there of Kyrie Irving when he gets healthy, Anthony Davis, if he ever is healthy, which you never know, and Cooper Flag. And man, if that group, and I would keep Cooper Flag. I would, because of his contract, because of, going into the year, Rob, I wasn't sure Cooper Flag was going to be a guy who could be an all NBA type caliber player, especially with the shooting. We kind of questioned that. The defense was going to be there. The toughness was going to be there. The IQ, athleticism, all of it, passing. But he proved he could shoot. He proved he could handle the ball better. His handle got a lot tighter this year, I think, from start to finish. But I think he's a guy who could be a top 5 player in the NBA. And with that contract, and then you throw in the intangibles, Rob. Throw in those intangibles, which is Cooper Flag plays hard and plays the right way all the time. You don't trade somebody like that unless you've got a Hall or a proven superstar that's in their prime, that's one of the top 3 players in the game, which I know you're going to throw a name at me. And yeah, it may make you think, but I'm still not doing it.
Yeah, look, I've been beating this drum for Cooper Flag since the start of the year, right? I've said that he is the best prospect that I've seen in college basketball since I've been doing this in the last 16 years. And I stand by that because he's doing all of this stuff that you're saying, Goodman, when he is supposed to be a senior in high school. He's the youngest player in this draft class. He was the youngest player in Division I basketball last year. I understand why potentially trading the pick would be a consideration. And the reason I say that is because you got a limited window with Kyrie Irving. You got a limited window with Anthony Davis. Both of them are injury prone. Both of them are towards the end of what their prime is. And if you are trying to win immediately, I do think there's an argument to be made packaging up a whole bunch of stuff to get Giannis coming back from Milwaukee and with Cooper Flag as the bait. There's an argument to be made that like this is the best chance for Dallas to win now. And if you're giving up Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, then your whole mindset is like win immediately, right? But no, you don't trade Cooper Flag. Like that's just something that I think that Cooper Flag he's the prize that we've seen This is why you tank, right? This is why we've seen teams try to lose. This is why the Wizards tried to lose. This is why Utah tried to lose, was to go get Cooper Flagg. And I don't think if you happen to strike the lottery and hit a 1.8% chance to be able to get the right to draft him, that you do it. My biggest question with Dallas is like, okay, so you already have Anthony Davis, right? You have Derek Lively, who we've seen is kind of one of the guys that they want to build this organization and franchise around. He was a home run of the 10th pick a couple of years ago. You have Daniel Gafford, you have PJ Washington, and now you have Cooper Flagg. And oh, by the way, the guy that's like supposed to be your offensive engine, Kyrie Irving, tore his ACL in March. So you have to do something, right? You can't just roll out 5 forwards unless, is that what we're doing now? Like we don't care about space in the floor. We're just going to play 5 7-footers at one time. Like what do you do if you're Dallas?
Yeah, they'll figure something out here and certainly move somebody, right? They'll move somebody to make it fit. But ultimately, you're playing for when these guys are healthy and saying to yourself, okay, we've got Kyrie, who still, when he's healthy, is one of the most prolific scoring point guards in the NBA. You've got AD, who still, when he's healthy, last I checked, is one of the top 10 players, maybe even 5 when he's healthy in the NBA. And Cooper Flagg, who I think the other part, Rob, that's going to be interesting, Kyrie doesn't respect everybody. Okay, we know that. He doesn't respect a lot of coaches. He doesn't respect a lot of media people. He doesn't respect a lot of his teammates. I think he will respect Cooper Flagg because not just the Duke connection, because he kind of did that with Tatum a little bit in Boston. I saw it firsthand, right? Kind of wanted Tatum under his wing, be a little brother. But then, honestly, when Tatum became too good, it was like, okay, I'm not okay with this. But I think with Cooper Flagg, he knows that kid has a similar IQ to him, a similar basketball IQ. So I think there'll be a respect there. He also understands now, which he did not when he came to Boston, he cannot be Batman. He's not good enough. So he knows he needs players now with him to win an NBA title. So I think he'll be good with Cooper. I think he'll bring him along. I think Cooper, we've seen it. Like, has there been a better teammate in college basketball coming in as a superstar than Cooper Flagg?
No, I don't think that there is. And it's not just the stuff that he does within the locker room. It is the way that he plays the game, right? He makes the right decisions. He makes the right pass. That's 90% of what makes him as good as he is as a player. He's also possibly the worst interview I have ever seen in my entire life. And like, I don't want to, he's 18.
Dude, I've done a lot of these. I've talked to how many players over the course of my career. I will put Cooper in the bottom 5% of interviews. I don't know if it's on purpose. I think he's got a personality underneath that. I just don't think he shows it with the media. And I've made this comparison, Rob, because I covered Kawhi when he was at San Diego State. Mm-hmm. I think they're similar in how they are with the media. They don't care. They're not disrespectful. When they get in front of the media, they are fine. They will answer the questions. They're both monotone as hell. They don't show any emotion when they talk to the media. They'll do it, but they don't want the attention. And to me,
no. Look, hold on. He doesn't, but he doesn't answer the questions. Like the question he was. So Billis is like, it's the biggest layup of all time, right? It's the easiest question you could ever be asked. So what have you been working on in pre-draft to get better for when you get drafted to the NBA? I've just been working on my all-around game and everything. I just want to be a better basketball player. And that was his answer. It's like, dude, just say, yeah, you know what? I'm trying to improve my handle. Yeah, you know what? I want to get better knocking down the jumps. Just
you know what?
Just give me anything.
He hasn't gotten in any trouble. He hasn't gotten in any trouble for anything he said all year when everything could have been magnified, could have been scrutinized. It was on the court early in the season. Remember when he was given the ball by Shire to make plays at the end of the game and didn't. He got a lot better at that too, which some people haven't given him credit for. But ultimately, the one thing you can't say anything about him is like there's no drama with Cooper Flagg. Zero drama.
So the Mavericks, right, have an opportunity to kind of change the course of their franchise. The same thing happened to the Spurs. And while they didn't get the number 1 pick, I don't know if there was an organization who had a bigger change in terms of like their timeline than what the Spurs did. They go from potentially having the 8th pick and the 14th pick to having the number 2 pick, which could be Dylan Harper. Now, the reason I say this is I don't know if you can move the 8th pick and the 14th pick to be able to get Giannis, right? I don't think that you can do that. But if you're talking about potentially the number 2 pick and the 14th pick, potentially moving Dylan Harper, who is a guy that maybe doesn't necessarily fit with De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle and Wemby, to try to go get Giannis, all of a sudden, like, this is something where I think that the Spurs, more than just about anybody else, can put together a package. Like, if you're Milwaukee, Goodman, right now, if you're Milwaukee and the Spurs say, we're going to give you the number 2 pick, we're going to give you the number 14 pick, we're going to give you rookie of the year Steph Castle, and we're going to give you a couple of salary make goods to make sure the numbers all add up. Do you say yes to that? I feel like that's getting pretty close to what the package you would want is to be able to actually give up Giannis.
Yeah, and they also have a swap pick, I think, with Atlanta in 2026. Mm-hmm. So they have other assets as well that they could mortgage the future on here. Would I give up? Yeah, I would probably say to myself, if I could roll out there a trio of De'Aaron Fox and, Giannis and Wemby, yeah, I'd probably mortgage most of it, if not all of it, and say, like, okay, we'll fill it in from there. The beauty of Giannis is he's still not that old, right? He's not that old. The only issue I have, let's go with the Dylan Harper part of it first. Let's go with the number 2 pick if they keep it, okay? Who fits with De'Aaron Fox? He's not a great shooter. Obviously, we know Fox is a really good defender, pushes the tempo, probably the fastest point guard in the NBA right now, but has never been a great shooter. He's streaky. He's had his moments, but he's not a great shooter. Dylan Harper is not a great shooter also. Like, how do they – and Dylan Harper is not a big – I've compared him to Cade Cunningham in some ways because I think the intangibles are there, big, strong, point guard, but Cade is much bigger than Dylan Harper is. I don't know how well it fits, but I also – don't know who else I'd take at number 2 who fits any better. And the one
you don't take someone else at number 2. You have to look. This is, I don't know if this is a hot take, and you can tell me if it is. You're not shy of telling me when I'm dumb, but I think that Dylan Harper is so far and away the second best prospect in this draft class that it's not even a conversation. There are only 2 options for you if you're the Spurs. You take Dylan Harper and you try to figure it out with 2 lead guards, or you trade Dylan Harper and try to add a piece that's like a 3-and-D kind of a wing. Right. And I don't think that there's another option. I also, now these are kind of like, these are luxury problems to have, right? If you're the Spurs, but I think you're kind of in a spot now where, let's say you do take Dylan Harper. I don't know how well all of these pieces fit together, right? Like De'Aaron Fox,
I'm saying. Right.
Yeah. Even Steph, look, you're talking to a UConn
Castle
fan.
Can't shoot. Castle can't shoot. Fox can't shoot. Harper can't shoot. You've got 3 non-shooters on the floor at the same time with Wemby. It puts and Wemby's a really good shooter, but you don't want him out there hoisting threes all the time. You still want him to be able to play his versatile game. So I think you're right. At the end of the day, if I'm Brian Wright, the Spurs GM, who's a smart dude, you explore every possibility here to try to land Giannis. I think that's somebody that certainly. It'll be interesting, too, to see what the Celtics do now with Jaylen Brown. Does he go on the market now? With Jason Tatum potentially being out for the year, is Jaylen Brown on the market, too? And do you go that route? Giannis is the guy, obviously. Giannis is a top-tier NBA star. But if you're San Antonio, you could also look to package number 2 for another, maybe not Giannis, and not have to mortgage the entire future and a lot of your young, talented guys.
I don't think you're mortgaging the future though if you trade all those pieces for Giannis, because I think that the reason why you acquire all of that capital, right, all of those assets, is to be able to turn 2 to 3 really good players into an elite player, a top 5 player in the sport. And I think that if you get Giannis and you have Wemby, you arguably have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA with a point guard and De'Aaron Fox that is really good. And then just go out and fill it out with a bunch of role guys that can be a little bit switchable, that can knock down threes. And I understand it's easier said than done finding those guys.
Yeah, go get a Kevin Huerter type. Go get a Kevin Huerter type of guy or somebody like that.
You can get like 5 of those guys. Like they're not a dime a dozen, but they are around. There are pieces like that are available. So that's at least what I would do if I was the Spurs, because I think if you have Wemby,
you would trade your number one thing if you're Brian Wright in San Antonio, and I agree with you, is go out there and try to get Giannis. That's number one. Number two would be, if you can't find a deal with Milwaukee, who, by the way, has no picks, really. They mortgaged all their picks for Dame Lillard. Then you draft Dylan Harper with the number 2 pick and see how the fit is.
Figure it out. No, and just figure it. Like, I don't think at this point, I don't think you're necessarily worrying about just fit. I think that you take the best asset that you can get and go from there, right? Like, I think when you have and maybe this is just because I'm a little bit lower on Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson and VJ Edgecombe than maybe, I don't know if you are, we can talk about that in a second, but I don't think that those guys are necessarily all-star caliber players. And I think that Dylan Harper, like within the range of outcomes and what he could be in his career, I don't think it's crazy to say like in 5 years he could be Jalen Brunson. I think that highly of Dylan Harper. They're a little bit different. They're not quite the same player, but like big, strong, smart guards.
Brunson just had that it. He had that it. I don't know if Dylan Harper has that it. Like Brunson,
I don't either. Like, which is why I think his ceiling's not quite as high. At least I don't think he's as likely to hit that ceiling. But how many? No, there's not. Show me one person that thought Jalen Brunson had the opportunity to be a top 10 player in the NBA, and I will call you a liar because he was the 33rd pick in the draft. And nobody said pick him top 5.
Brunson. That's the only one. Yes. Rick Brunson.
So all I'll say is that with Dylan, we've seen him hit a lot of game winners, and not just in college this past year, like coming up through the AAU ranks. Like he didn't have a great year at Rutgers, but he won a lot of games before that, you know, when he was in high school and he was in the EYBL. He has the pedigree that Jalen Brunson has. Obviously, his dad is Ron Harper, played in the NBA, won championships with Jordan, right? He is a strong guard. He is a shot maker. He is a creator off the bounce. I think he is a better passer than he gets credit for. I think he's not, I think what they list him at 6'6", like he's not 6'6", man. Like he's one of these guys is like 6'3.5", right? But I think that he is strong enough where
Harper, 6'4.5". He measured at 6'4.5" without shoes.
Yeah. So he's not 6'6" the way that he was listed. But
that's actually, I think he's one than I thought. That's bigger than I thought, which is he's not that far off from Cade.
Yeah, fair enough. Cade also has a 7'2" wingspan or something like that. But either way, like the Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, Dylan, they're all like the same category of guard where they are a creator off the dribble where you can kind of build an offense around them, right? An initiator. And I think that Dylan Harper, somewhere in the Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham category, is where he could end up being. And I don't think Ace Bailey, I don't think VJ Edgecombe, I don't think Trey Johnson, I don't think Con Canill, I don't think there's anybody else in this draft class that can get close to what his ceiling is as a player if it all comes together. So no matter what, if you're the Spurs, you either draft him with plans on figuring it out later, or you move the number 2 pick knowing that a team is going to want the opportunity to draft him. Like you lucked your way into getting Dylan Harper. You got to take him. I don't think that there's any other option there. You know what is interesting, and I was thinking about this last night. I'm curious what your take is. When it comes to, we can have the tanking conversation in a second, but at this point, I feel like with the way that the NBA schedule is built and the fact that it almost becomes like a war of attrition once you get to the playoffs, who can stay healthy for the longest, who can avoid having Evan Mobley go down, having Jason Tatum go down, having some of these other guys get hurt within the most important part of the season.
Donovan Mitchell, you go on and on and on here.
Yeah, it's like just if you can get to the playoffs and you have a superstar, like you got a shot in this, man. Like last year, right? Boston was the number 1 seed. They won it. They were the best team in the NBA, obviously. But they beat 6 seed Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they beat 5 seed Dallas in the NBA Finals, right? In 2023, Denver won it, but they beat number 8 seed Miami in the finals because they had Jimmy Butler, and they beat the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, who were the 7 seed. In 2022, 3 seed Golden State beats 2 seed Boston. You
did a lot of research for this show. You know that? I'll give you credit. You did a lot of research for this show.
Man, like, because it felt like there was throughout the entire 2010s, it felt like it was basically like, okay, we play this entire season, we have all these playoffs, but it's just going to inevitably be LeBron facing off with Steph when you get to the NBA Finals. And it doesn't matter what you do. It's going to be LeBron and Steph. But now you could have Jokic and some guys around him, and as long as you get lucky in the playoffs, you got a chance, right? You could have a beaten down Steph in 2022, right? Kind of getting older. Same thing with Draymond. But you got a superstar. You get to the playoffs. You got a chance. In 2024, I mean, you got Jimmy Butler gets you to the finals. You got a chance because you got a guy. And if you could find that guy, it's what the Knicks have done, right? That's kind of where I'm going with this. The Knicks didn't build themselves for the postseason.
But you need a little luck. But you need some luck too. I mean, Jason Tatum has been one of the most durable players in the NBA since he got in the league. And obviously he goes down with a non-contact injury that looks like an Achilles. You know, like you just don't know sometimes. Like certain guys, yes, right? Like, again, AD, it's a roll of the dice. Porzingis, listen, if he's out there, you're surprised in the playoffs. But certain guys, it's fluky, right? I mean, you got Tatum down. Donovan Mitchell's hurt right now. We'll see if, so there's a little luck involved right now too, but it is a war of attrition and Bob Ryan, who's been covering this league for 60 plus years, says it's always been like this. Like, we think of it as new that these superstars are getting hurt. He says it's always kind of been like this in the NBA playoffs, where it's injury related oftentimes as to who's the last team standing.
Yeah, and I don't think that's – I want to temper the way that I phrase this. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for the sport that there's a little bit of an element of flukiness when it comes to who ends up winning the NBA championship, because I think the more that you spread out championships, the better it is overall, right? Like, dynasties are fun. Watching all-time greats are fun. Watching those Warriors teams when you just knew there was no chance anybody was ever going to beat them was awesome. But I also like the not knowing who is going to win it when you get into the playoffs, not knowing whether or not the Jimmy Butler can kind of create those Cinderella magical runs. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. My larger point was all these teams that are kind of tanking to try to find that guy. Like, I understand why you're doing it, but at the same time, you can make a deep run in the playoffs just by getting in and getting a little bit lucky and having a chance to win. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. What do you do right now if you're Boston? Let's get to that real quick. We're recording this. It's 11:23 a.m. on a Tuesday, right? We have no information yet on what exactly has happened to Jason Tatum. Let's just say, in theory, and we're talking in theory here, that this is a torn Achilles and he has to miss the 25-26 season. If you are Boston, and you as the diehard, longtime Boston fan, the Celtics fan, you were the kid that
can I say that? I didn't grow up a Celtics fan, so I'm objective probably when it comes to everything other than Jason Tatum. Okay, like, I'll admit,
what do you do?
Probably not objective. What do you do? So they're already over the cap with a new owner coming in. Okay, so they got to get under the cap to start. So I think you got to somehow find a way to move Drew Holiday, who isn't the same player he was last year and is getting older. I think you got to find a way to move Porzingis, which is going to be really tough because right now, honestly, him moving out there looks like you defending. I mean, it's that bad. So you got to probably get rid of those two guys. And Jaylen Brown moves to the number one option, which I think he's wanted for years. I don't think he's going to want it when he sees it because he can't be the number one option on a really good team. He can't. He has benefited from having Jason Tatum with him pretty much his entire career. Now he probably won't next year. I think the best scenario for Boston, and Boston fans are not going to want to hear this, the best scenario next year for the Boston Celtics is they suck. They tank, they suck, and they have a chance for A.J. DeMonsa, the local kid from Brockton, Mass, next year in the draft, or Darren Peterson Jr., or Cameron Boozer, or Nate Ament. This is a really good draft at the top, and it's not about one guy. Like this draft was about Cooper Flagg. The next year, it'll be about, I would say, 3, 4, 5 guys all having a chance to play their way into that number one pick. But Darren Peterson is a terrific, you've seen him, Rob, terrific combo guard who's going to play at Kansas as a freshman. A.J. DeMonsa, Brockton, Mass, like I said, he's 6'9". Upside is incredible. He'll play at BYU. Boozer, one of the Boozer twins, He's a walking double-double at Duke next year. Nate Ament going to Tennessee, has a body like Kevin Durant, not quite as tall. He's probably 6'9", 6'10", but long, skilled. Those are the four guys that I think are all maybe going to be in the equation for the number one overall pick. Boozer probably won't be in the equation for the number one. But again, he's all about production.
I hate what you just said right there. All right. And it's not what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but I hate what you just said, because what you just said is that the current defending NBA champions should tank to get a higher draft pick. This is the Boston Celtics. What are we talking about? For tanking for the Celtics? Like that, that is, I just
the alternative, Rob. Rob, the alternative is
I know. Hold on.
Brown, you end up being in the play-in game next year as with Jaylen Brown as the number one.
I get it, but we have built a system here where the incentive is to lose, right? Like, and I understand if you are, let's just say like you're Charlotte, right? Or you're a team like Milwaukee, or you're one of these smaller market teams where attracting a superstar is not something that you're capable of doing for a lot of different reasons, right? Superstars want to go to New York, they want to go to Miami, they want to go to Toronto, they want to go to LA, they want to go to these big markets, right? You're Boston. You are the Boston Celtics. You are the most storied franchise in the NBA, one of the most storied franchises in the history of American sports. And we're talking about you tanking when you already got Jaylen Brown, who was the reigning NBA Finals MVP on it. Like that, the fact that this is where the NBA is structured is one of the biggest problems with it as a sport.
What would you do? What would you do? You want to be mediocre next year?
Yeah, try to win. Try to win.
You're not going to win with Jaylen Brown as the number. If you've got a core, this is your core. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, who I love, but he's like fourth on the scouting report right now. He'll move up to 2 next year if Tatum's out. And then Peyton Pritchard is like literally potentially your number 3 guy right now. Like the hard part is you've got $100 million plus tied up in Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and Tatum looks like he's out for the year, and Jaylen Brown cannot be Batman. He wants to be. He's going to get the opportunity to be, and it ain't going to go well.
I'm not saying that that tanking is the wrong option. I'm saying that when you have the Boston Celtics, who are currently, as things stand, still the reigning NBA champions, and the best option for them is to try to lose as much as possible to go get a top draft pick, that's when you know your system's kind of fucked. And that's when you know that the NBA has
and they try to flatten it too. I mean, the crazy part is they tried to flatten
which I think is a great thing. I honestly think it's a great thing. And it's not going to like the fact that we're in a place right now where the Dallas Mavericks can trade Luka Doncic to the Lakers, publicly say we only talked with the Lakers about trading Luka Doncic, and then they get the number 1 pick as the 11th most likely team with a 1.8% chance. Like, you're not beating the collusion allegations, right? Like, you're not beating the NBA's rigged allegations. And if Boston goes out and tanks and ends up getting the number 1 pick, like, we all see it. Adam Silver, we all see it. David Stern, like, you set yourself a trend here, man.
Stop with your garbage.
But like,
I think the bigger thing right now is that Utah and Washington, that both clearly tanked this year to try to get Cooper Flag, ended up getting 5th and 6th. So I think if your team's now looking at this, you're saying, like, is it really worth it? Now, next year, again, I think you're going to have 3 or 4 guys in the same realm potentially. So I don't think it's going to be all or nothing with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I just hate the fact that it's the Celtics, man, and we're telling them to go lose a year after they won the NBA championship. It's just that's part of what makes me so frustrated about the NBA is you reward being non-competitive. I just hate the idea that in professional sports you reward being non-competitive. Listen, we have the actual lottery here in front of us, the full lottery, the full first 14 picks of the draft for the first time today. And when we get back from this break, Goodman and I are going to roll through what our mock draft would be for the first 14 picks of the first round of the 2025 NBA draft. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Well, welcome back to the Field of 68, where Jeff had a call at his house while you were gone, and so all we heard during the break was the phone ringing, and it stopped.
Have you ever heard a home phone? Do you have a home phone
no.
anymore, Rob?
No, I haven't had a home phone since
I'm at my parents.
25 years.
I'm at my parents. They're 80. They use the home phone. They have cell phones, but they use the home phone.
All right, so let's get into our mock draft here, and then what you can do is you can use that home phone. You can call in who you think you're going to be making these picks for. So let's start with number 1. We have Dallas. Goodman, they're on the clock. Is something crazy happen here? Are we going to see him take Trey Johnson number 1? Could Knipple find a way to sneak his way?
No, Cooper Flag. Let's move on. Let's move on here. Dallas takes Cooper Flag number 1. San Antonio, if they keep the pick, they take Dylan Harper at number 2. Let's start at number 3 here, where it gets
no matter what happens. That's going to be the top 2 picks in the draft. So Philadelphia at number 3. They were what, the 5th most likely team to end up getting the number 1 overall pick. They got Joel Embiid, who is looks like a walking corpse, and they got Paul George, who might be the most ridiculous contract I've ever seen in the history of the NBA. And I say that as somebody who has a son that's a diehard Sixers fan at this point and doesn't quite understand why they're why they're
you don't
so
like
bad.
Daryl Morey? Wait, you don't like Daryl Morey?
I actually like Daryl. I actually really like Daryl Morey. I don't.
He plays Stratomatic. Did you ever play Stratomatic basketball?
I actually did.
You're too old.
No, I played Stratomatic baseball.
All right. There was a basketball version. I think Daryl Morey just brings out the Stratomatic and just like, all right, like let me try to see like who I can get the piece, because there's no way he looks at how the fit. When he puts together a team, there's no chance Daryl Morey ever thinks about the fit of these guys together.
I don't know. I got nothing to say about that. All I know is that it did not work this year. So if you are the Philadelphia 76ers and you have an aging Joel Embiid and you have an aging PG-13, Jared McCain's a nice piece. Like, what are you doing here if you are the 76ers?
I mean, I don't want to do this, but I feel like you have to go Ace Bailey. I don't love it, but man, I love his natural ability. I love his ability to make tough, contested, incredible shots. He is a long, versatile wing. You know, kind of looks a little bit like Paul George. But man, this dude can really, really make shots, whether it's threes, whether it's turnarounds, whether it's shots with hands in his face, whatever it is, and he's electric in the getting up and down the court. Like, I just don't trust him. Is that fair, Rob? Like, you just don't know what you're going to get out of Ace Bailey. But I think if you're Philly, you can't miss on a guy like this with his potential upside. So I think you have to take him.
I don't know if I am the Sixers, I am trading this pick. I'm shopping this pick. And
okay, you can try, but like it doesn't have a ton of value, Rob. Like everybody could say that.
I know it doesn't,
we're not going to play the game of I'm going to trade this pick because we're going to make you take somebody. I'm
going to trade the pick.
No, you're going to take somebody. You can't trade it. You went around the league and you weren't able to get value, and now you're on the clock and you have to take somebody at number 3. Who are you taking?
It's not going to be Ace Bailey. I honestly, I don't think that I don't love anybody here. I would honestly consider reaching for Nipple at the third pick. I honestly would. I don't.
Because
out
he's
of the
safe.
three big wings, yes, out of the three big wings, I think I like Trey Johnson the most out of those three. I don't love Ace. I don't think Ace Bailey is going to end up being a winning basketball player. I think that he is a guy that's a lot of empty calories.
Disagree.
I'm not convinced
he can I don't disagree.
I don't see the
he's got the highest upside.
No, I don't agree with that. Actually, I think that Trey Johnson has a higher upside as a scorer. I think Ace Bailey is a guy that will going to average 20 points for a couple seasons in the NBA, and he's going to do it on teams that win 23 games. I don't think that he's going to be a guy that's going to come in and be an impact winning the way that you need somebody to impact winning. I don't think he can play off the bounce. I don't think he knows what he's doing defensively. He weighs 203 pounds at 6'7.5". Like he is not Paul George.
Can Paul George help him defensively at least? Can he help him? I don't know. And again, I don't love it, but I don't love Trey Johnson here. I don't love Knipple here. I don't love VJ Edgecombe here.
We can go with Ace Bailey for this pick just for the sake of moving on, because you see.
Who are you going with though? Who are you going with?
I just said I would probably, if I have to take this pick for the Sixers, I'm probably taking Trey Johnson. But I don't. Okay. I am trying to use this as a way to move salary, add assets, move down to the draft, find somebody that absolutely loves Ace Bailey and see if I can move it. But we'll go with Ace Bailey just for the sake of this pick. Charlotte Hornets picking number 4.
This is easy. This is super easy.
Okay.
This is the easiest pick other than Cooper Flagg we're going to have in the lottery. It's VJ Edgecombe. It's VJ Edgecombe.
Why?
Like clear cut. Because you got a bunch of dudes that just want to score, right? LaMelo, all he wants to do is score. Arguably the worst defensive player in the NBA right now. Brandon Miller wants to score. Now, they need a big also. They need a big, but I wouldn't take Kama Malawach here. I would take VJ Edgecombe, who is a big, strong, physical, defensive-minded wing who will get better offensively. Will he be elite? No, but I think eventually he can average 15 points a game. But he can go out there today, Rob, and guard. And he can go up. He is electric when you put him in the full court. So I would go VJ Edgecombe, and I don't even have to think about this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he might be the most special athlete that you have in this draft class. I'm not quite sold on the shooting. I think that he's good. I don't know if he's necessarily.
They have enough
great.
shooting. They have enough shooting.
They do have enough shooting, and
they have shooting.
And I do think that when you have a passer like LaMelo Ball, when you got a guy that's a lob threat like VJ Edgecombe, you're probably going to be able to scheme your way into 4 or 6 points per game. Just doing that. VJ at this for the 4th pick in this draft is the guy that I would probably be. I'm with you there. That's the one that you take the bet on there. Utah Jazz at number 5. They got Lauri Markkanen. They got a couple of interesting pieces there.
No, they have Lauri Markkanen. They have Lauri Markkanen. You can stop there. That's what they have.
Trying to be nice to the Jazz.
No, they stink. They stink.
Okay, so who are you taking?
Trey Johnson. I think he gives him a score on the wing that they could use. He's not an incredible athlete, but he knows how to score. He'll be about 6'6" with shoes, so he's got good size for that position. But I would refer to Trey Johnson as a professional scorer. That's what he is. He knows how to use angles, create separation. He can shoot it from deep. He can get to the basket. He can finish. I think he could be a plus defender. I like Trey Johnson a lot. I go with him at Utah. At 5.
Yeah. So you would take Trey Johnson. I would probably take Jeremiah Fears here if I'm the Jazz. For starters, my Trey Johnson is gone for me. He's off the board.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I would have taken him 3 with it, but I would take Jeremiah Fears because I think that if you're the Jazz at this point, you need to start taking some upside swings. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if Trey Johnson's the kind of guy that will end up being an all-star caliber player. Like Jeremiah Fears could very well end up being a backup point guard for 5 years in the NBA and then out after a second contract, right? Jeremiah Fears is also another guy that reclassified, right, and moved up, and is only 18 years old and is 6'4", and was a guy that put up huge numbers as a player that should be a senior in high school, kind of like Cooper Flagg. Has the potential to kind of be a primary point guard long term, and to me is the guy where you have a chance to maybe one day have an all-star caliber point guard there. Maybe. I don't know if it happens. Probably not, but I think that you take the upside swing here if you are the Utah Jazz, because I mean, you got to start betting on upside at some point, right? Like you got to find a way. He's going to have minutes available to him to play. So I would take Jeremiah
I like your Fears pick. I like your Fears pick there, and I'll transition to Washington at 6 for the same reason. These two teams, even though it didn't work out for them this year in the lottery, I think you're probably going to have to suck again. Unfortunately, I think you're going to have to suck again, and even if now. You're gonna. I mean, that neither team has anything. I mean, what do you have? Jordan Poole in Washington and Alex Sarr. I mean, you're gonna stink again. Jeremiah Fears is a year away. I mean, there's a lot of NBA people that I've talked to that say he should spend next year in the G League because he's got to get stronger. But I think Washington, Utah, those are places that probably not only can afford to take him, need to take a guy with high upside that's probably not ready so they can lose again next year, get another chance at a big-time player, and really just reload completely through the draft because they're not going to be able to do it through free agency.
Yep, 100%. Look, I'm taking – for Washington for 6, I'm taking Ace because he's the best player on the board, and I don't think you can let him drop past that. 7 is when it starts getting interesting, right? Because 7 is when you kind of get to the – you get to the Pelicans. You made it clear. You made this point, which was an interesting point I didn't even think about. The Pelicans sent Zion Williamson to the lottery, which makes it clear, at least in your mind, that they're probably going to try to keep building around him. So who do you take to help with the future of Zion Williamson? Is it Kaman Malawach? Is it another Duke freshman, Con Knipple? What are you doing here if you are the Pelicans?
It's one of those two, right? It's one of those two Duke guys. I don't know. I was leaning towards Kaman Malawach before because they need a big. They could use a guy like him, but they could also use a big-time shooter and a young guy and maybe move off of C.J. McCollum. So I think you're deciding between the two Dukies, not named Cooper Flagg, if you're New Orleans, to go with another Dookie in Zion Williamson. I would probably go Con Knipple here. I would probably go Con Knipple and see if I can move off of C.J. McCollum or even keep C.J. McCollum for the first half of the year and then see if you can move him.
Yeah, I would take Con as well. I'm very high on Con. Like I told you this when the Sixers were picking. I would consider taking him with the 3rd pick there. I don't think he has near the upside of the 4 guys that were just picked in front of him from Trey, VJ, Jeremiah, or Ace. But I think that he has as high of a floor as anybody in this draft. Like, I just think he's one of these guys where you look up in 12 years and Joe Ingles is still playing in the NBA. And that's kind of what, like, I see Con Knipple's career arc being something similar to that. So, yeah, I would take Con 7 as well. Brooklyn with the 8th pick, one of a couple of first-round picks. I think they have 4 first-round picks in this year's draft, right? 8th being the first one that they get. Who are you taking, Goodman?
So I'm going to go with a little bit of a surprise here. I'm going to go with Jace Richardson here if I'm Brooklyn. I'm going to roll the dice and take a point guard, a scoring point guard who has just scratched the surface of what he can be. Nobody thought he'd be a one and done. We saw him at Michigan State, and he was a guy who's electric. He was able to really score from pretty much all 3 levels. But he could heat up in a hurry. I think he'll learn the point guard position. He's only about 6'1", I think. So he's athletic like his dad, not quite as athletic, but he's athletic. And I think, again, if you're Brooklyn, you roll the dice in a guy that could be a high upside player, and I think that's Jace Richardson for me.
All right, so I think this is a tough spot if you're the Nets. I don't hate the Jace Richardson pick. I think that you're kind of hoping that Jeremiah Fears falls to the 8th pick. That's probably what you're going to do in here. I'm going to go with Colin Murray Boyles. I like Colin Murray
Ooh,
Boyles. I don't know how you feel
ooh.
about him. You don't like him?
I don't like that pick. I don't like it at all. At all.
You don't like anything that I do, which actually
No,
makes me
I
feel like
like
this is probably
I
something
like
that.
some of your picks, and I understand your Ace Bailey thing because I was there
Mhm.
before you were. I was there a year ago. I'm like, hey, I don't trust Ace Bailey. I worry about if you miss on him, like, and he is that good, which he's shown flashes. But Colin Murray Boyles, to me, no, 6'6.5", undersized, big. Like, nah, that doesn't do it for me if I'm Brooklyn.
Yeah, but you're getting a guy that's a wing. You're getting a guy that's switchable. You're getting a guy that's a really good defender. You're getting a guy that's going to end up being a good piece. And you have a number of other picks in this draft. The biggest thing for me is um, I'm not, and we could talk about this in a little bit, but I'm not on the Calvin Malawatch train. I think that is I'm not sold on him, right? And I don't love Kasparas Yakashonis either. So it's kind of like this is a weird spot to be drafting in. I guess is the biggest thing. And maybe you know what? Maybe can I actually? You know what? I'm going to rewrite this. I'm changing my pick. Can I change my pick?
Yeah, you can change your pick. Yeah, who you going?
Give me Derek Queen. Give me Derek Queen. I'm taking Derek Queen.
Yeah, that's better. That's
Yeah,
better.
I'm taking Derek
Like,
Queen.
I just
I changed
don't.
my pick.
I think Colin Murray Boyles could be a backup at the end of the day. I think he could be a rotation undersized four. That's what I see him as. Maybe I'm crazy here, but I don't understand the people putting him in the lottery. Like, to me, I would go Derek Queen out of him 100 out of 100 days.
Yes, you're right. That was I got to look further down my my list of players here. Toronto
You're
at number
good. You're
9.
good. So number 9, again, we got a Toronto team with a couple guys that are, shot challenged, right? I mean, you're playing RJ Barrett a lot. You're playing Scotty Barnes a lot. Brandon Ingram can shoot. So it's hard to, like, Malawatch here is a hard one. Like, I want to take him, but I'm like, does he really fit in Toronto? I would go Asa Newell here. And I know it's a little bit of a reach, but man, I love this kid's potential. I think he could be a guy who averages like 18 and 8 in the league in a few years. I really do. He's skilled. He plays hard. He runs the court. He rebounds. Man, I just think he's underrated. I think he's vastly underrated. I would take him somewhere around here, and I think he's a great fit in Toronto.
So I like where your thinking is, right? And the logic kind of extends to who I would take here. And this might be a stretch, but he's a guy that I think is going to end up climbing some boards here as you get through the workout process and get through the draft process. Carter Bryant from Arizona. I think that when you put him next to like a Scotty Barnes, you put him next to Brandon Ingram, like all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of length and a whole bunch of athleticism and a guy that I think will like, I'm just buying everything about Carter Bryant. I think that he's one of those guys where the trajectory is kind of going like this. So I'm taking Carter Bryant, number 9 overall. I think that he's the guy that's going to sneak his way into the top 10 before things are all said and done. Houston with the 10th pick is a really, really interesting one because I think Houston, we all kind of saw them as like the next best up and coming team in the West, right? And then all of a sudden the Spurs get the number 2 pick and things kind of change their trajectory. And now it's like, what do you do? Do you try to use this pick to go get you Giannis? Do you try to draft to plug some of the holes that you currently have in your roster? Like, what are you doing right now for your Houston? Because I think that they're at a little bit of an inflection point in terms of where they are.
Yeah, I'd probably take Malawatch here. Steven Adams isn't getting any younger. They've got some really good pieces. Fred VanVleet, I think it's a team option that they'll have to pick up for a boatload of money. You still have Dylan Brooks. You got Amen Thompson, who's been terrific this year, has come along a lot quicker. Jalen Green. I think the one area you look at right now is, and you got Sengun up front too, who can score as a big, but give him a little bit of help, give them some more shot blocking protection. And you won't need Malawatch to do too much, but I think he fits a need for the Houston Rockets. So I would take Malawatch here.
Yeah, that's actually I love that pick. That's the same thing that I have written down because like that's kind of what their identity is, right? Like if you have Amen Thompson and you have Fred VanVleet and you have Dylan Brooks and you have all of these guys where like toughness and defense is kind of what you're built around. Getting a guy that's 7'1" with a 7'7" wingspan that can be one of these kind of jumbo rim protectors, I think makes a lot of sense. Portland at 11. Weird spot for Portland. Who are you taking here?
Well, they just, again, they keep drafting these guards, and like they don't fit great together, right? I mean, Sharp and Scoot and Simons and some of these guys, they took Klingon last year. They have Ayton. They got a lot of guys, but it just doesn't seem like it's translating. You could go with another upside guy and go with another, like maybe go with a big wing. And if you do, I'm choosing between Liam McNeely and Will Riley, and they're completely different. Like, could they be more opposite? Liam McNeely and Will Riley, right? Will Riley is this guy that's got the highest upside, one of them in the entire draft. They're both wings. Liam McNeely is not overly athletic, but like you could plug him in tomorrow and he could help Portland. I think I roll the dice because I'm Portland. I think you got to take these risks and hope you hit it with somebody. Like Liam McNeely's a really good player, but like I feel like you can get a Liam McNeely type in free agency. I would take a shot and go here with a Will Riley and see if you hit it with an all-star down the road.
It's pretty wild that we're here right now and you're picking Will Riley over Yakashonis after all of the hype that Yakashonis got throughout the season in terms of what he could be. Then you're picking Will Riley over Yakashonis. And I don't hate it. I wouldn't mind seeing them just kind of go with like the highest player on their board. I'm going to take Colin Murray Boyles here. This is where I'm going to pick him because I do think he's a guy.
Sure, you don't want another mulligan on him?
No more mulligans on this one.
You're going to keep
no more mulligans on this one. I'm going to keep him on this one, right? No trading on this one.
Good for you.
All right. Chicago at 12.
Who you hear that? The Bulls, they need everything too. I mean, they legitimately, they drafted Buzelis last year. He was pretty good this year. He was pretty good, but this is a team, and like it just feels like they're always in kind of purgatory, right? Like they were good for a little while. Now you look at that roster and you're like, holy shit, it is underwhelming. To me, I think I'd probably go with a Derek Queen here and give them somebody they know they can count on, that they can kind of build around, a super skilled big who you could throw the ball to in the post. And, he's also more athletic than people realize. So I would go with Derek Queen here for Chicago as a big that is going to produce, also has a pretty high upside.
Give me Yegor Demon in this spot. Give me Yegor Demon. And I don't mind adding another big athletic Eastern European guy to go along with your boy Matas. I think that it's you're taking a swing here, right? Because of the how thin he is and because of some of the shooting question marks that are there. But when you can get a 6'9" point guard that can make a lot of those reads, that has played a high level of basketball for a long time, I think that's worth taking a swing on. And if it all comes together, like I think that this dude is a potential like top 5 or 6 talent in this draft in terms of what his ceiling can be. So I would take Yegor Demon in the spot. Who are you taking for the Hawks? 13th.
I'm gonna try to trade Trae Young, but if I can't, I think I'm gonna take. It's a tough one. I think I'm gonna take Liam McNeely here. I am gonna take Liam McNeely here because you need some stability. You need some guys that know how to play, that can play with a Trae Young, and Liam McNeely can make shots. You can plug him in right away. He can help you right away. It's funny. They have George Niang, and they're different players, Liam McNeely and George Niang. I'm not comparing them completely, but a lot of the things they do well are similar. So I'm going to go with like Liam McNeely as a young guy you can develop. You could plug him in, and he could play a variety of positions. So I'm going McNeely here.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. It's kind of along the same lines. I was going to take Danny Wolf in this spot. Big guy, can shoot it, can space the floor, can get creative with the way that you kind of run him offensively, and he doesn't have to come in and be the primary guy. So I'll take Danny Wolf 13th to Atlanta. My favorite pick of this first round. I'm picking first for 14th for the Spurs because we are assuming, right, like they have to keep this pick. We're not trading these picks. Yeah. You told me I can't trade picks. I tried to trade the Philadelphia pick. I tried to trade the Brooklyn pick. You won't let me trade any picks. You know who is the best player that the Spurs can get for next season? The best player at 14th, who will come in.
You're going to tell me like Walter Clayton?
No, he'll immediately come in. He will impact winning. He will make them better, and he will be a guy that is top 7 in their rotation next season when he gets on that floor. Nick Clifford from Colorado State. I think that he shooter, can pass it, is an NBA athlete without a shadow of a doubt. He's bigger than I think people realize. Really, really, really good all-around player, and the kind of guy where I think the biggest value, and this is kind of a tangent, but I think the biggest value that you're going to see from an NBA perspective when it comes to NIL is the ability to draft these 4 or 5 year guys that are finished products that can come in and can contribute day one. I think Nick Clifford is a guy that can come in and contribute day one, and putting him next to De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, like, I don't think that there's a better fit that you can find for a dude like that. Spurs take Nick Clifford.
I think actually I might have found a better fit. Danny Wolf, who's there for me. Danny Wolf alongside Victor would be fun to watch. Danny can step out. He can make shots, which is what this team will need, especially out of a big like that. He can pass the shit out of it. We know that. Danny Wolf would be fun because they're already super athletic, right? I mean, you got Victor and his length and athleticism.
What are you saying about you saying Danny Wolf's not athletic? You saying Danny Wolf's not athletic? That's rude.
He's not the most athletic dude. No, he's not the most athletic dude in the world. He's definitely not. So I would take Danny Wolf here at 14, and that wraps up our lottery there, which is interesting. Interesting. Yes. I want to know. All right, so I want to get you on the record before we close out the show here in 3 minutes. Prior to the start of this college basketball season, I want it on the record. Who is going to be the number 1 pick in 2026 NBA? When we're talking about this a year from now, is there a guy who's going to separate themselves, Rob, as the clear cut? Because right now, I don't think there is.
I do think that there will be. I think it's going to be Darren Peterson.
Ooh.
It's not going to be. So it's very clear this year that Cooper Flagg has to be the number 1 pick, right? And I don't think it's going to be at the same level. Like, I don't think we're going to be saying this is the Darren Peterson draft. I think it's going to be similar to, like, 2021 when it was, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball at the top of the draft, and everyone was like, yeah, you probably have to take Anthony Edwards number 1. But it wasn't like this obvious thing where it was a no-brainer where you spend the entire time you're tanking for Darren Peterson. I think you're right that the top 4 or 5 in this draft is going to be really good. I think there's a non-zero chance it could also end up being Carlos Boozer, Cameron Boozer, right? Like, you watch Cameron Boozer play, then you watch Paolo Banchero play, and I'm not saying that they're the same player, but I'm not saying that they're like that far apart.
Well, he's not explosive like Paolo. Right. He's just not as
Paolo
explosive.
Wasn't that Paolo didn't really develop that until like junior, senior year. Like, all I'm saying is that Cameron Boozer, I think, is going to be a guy that impresses a lot of people. AJ DeBonsa, I think we're going to be having similar conversations with Ace Bailey. He's better. He's bigger. I think he's more of an elite scorer, and I'm less concerned about the issues that Rutgers had this year winning that BYU will have. BYU has the best top 3 in America, right? Like, Robert Wright, Richie Saunders, AJ DeBonsa is like, 1, as good of a top 3 as you could find, and 2, like the most random. The assortment of characters that you have there between Richie Saunders, AJ DeBonsa, and Robert Wright, all playing at BYU. You got a kid from Boston, you got a kid from Philly, and you got Richie Saunders, who's like a normal BYU kid, all playing together on the same team is a weird mix, but I think it'll work. But I think it's going to be like those will be the 3. Who am I? I'm missing one guy. Koa Pete? No. Nate Ament?
Nate Ament.
Well,
Nate Ament might be in that. He might be in the discussion. He might be there. His upside is high as shit.
I agree. I want to see it translate to the college level because of how like he's very. But
even if it doesn't, even if he doesn't put up the same numbers as those other 3, which I don't think he will. I don't. I think you're going to look at those 3. They're all going to average 17-ish a game, 20, somewhere in that range. Nate Ament is not going to do that, but you're going to see glimpses, and people are going to look at him and be like, holy shit. Like, once he puts on some weight, who knows what he can be.
Yep. I mean, I don't hate any of those predictions that you made there for the top 4. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out. Where are you taking Alex Karaban next year? Top 5, top 3, number 1 overall? How does
Listen,
he play
I
his way
hope Alex Karaban. I hope he works his way back into a guaranteed, early second round deal where he can make a lot of money, because that kid is awesome. He's awesome. I felt for him last year.
All right. So Sam, the comparison I'll make, and this is like completely tangent. I don't know how I ended up here. I always end up on UConn stuff, but I don't see how Alex Karaban can't have the same career that Sam Hauser is having when he gets to the NBA. Right.
Yeah,
like that's just kind of the you see what that role is. Like, exactly who he's going to end up.
You got to be on the right team for that. You got to be on the right team. All right.
Yep. So he'll end up in the right spot. Listen, this has been fun. Starting on Thursday, we're going to start doing some conference resets. We will be diving into the leagues as a whole. We're going to go through the Power 5 leagues, maybe a couple more as this kind of plays out. But the transfer process, getting all of these guys committing earlier than we expected, kind of fast-tracked the schedule for what our offseason content plan was going to end up looking like, which good thing, bad thing, whatever it is, it's kind of where we are. So starting next week, we're going to be rolling through some conference, or starting on Thursday, we're going to be rolling through some conference resets. So keep an eye out for that. We appreciate you guys being here, and we look forward to catching up on Thursday.